Jar Jar Abrams, Alex Kurtzman, Orsi, like, hey, let's just entirely castrate every bold decision ever made before we got into this. Let's make death not a thing. Let's
Yeah.
it is just painful how stupid these people are, and they keep wrecking one of the greatest franchises in history. But
Matt, I never thought about this until you said it right now. You bring up an interesting point in that Into Darkness movie. People complained that at the end they probably killed like tens of thousands of people or something, right? When
yeah,
something crashes into the planet or something. Um,
yeah.
couldn't they just bring them all back to life using Khan's blood?
Seemingly, if their bodies are like even
Oh, I
remotely
guess yeah,
intact,
they need to have intact bodies. But let's say they could save thousands.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it really kind of messes up the whole story.
yeah. The moment that you decide to cure death that easily, you're kind of fucking with your entire universe.
Yeah.
I, I mean, with the original Star Trek series, yeah, they brought Spock back to life, but that was in like the super focused, narrow context of the Genesis device
Well, they did it
going
in a
off.
different movie too.
Right. And yeah, he spent a full movie dead. Like you just got it that he was dead, and then they brought him back, and it was very well established that no, you don't just need to take some blood from one dude and inject it into another dude to bring him back to life. I mean, this would require in an immense amount of resources. Uh,
um,
uh,
I don't
but
remember which of the YouTube channels did it, but all those channels that have all the fun breakdowns of like what they did wrong in different movies. It was
yeah,
probably, I want to say it was probably how it should have ended or something. But I want to say it was talking about Star Trek Into Darkness. Maybe it was a different one. I don't remember. But when they bring back, it's Kirk, right? Yeah,
yeah.
they bring Kirk back to life with the thing. Instead of referencing Wrath of Khan, the guy says, "What are you guys doing? You can't do that in this movie. You got to get off the gray that shit."
I am just so mad that Star Trek Into Darkness was the last movie that I ran as a projectionist before Dunkirk. The entire Abrams franchise just drives me up the fucking wall, honestly. So yeah.
Meaning the
Um,
Star Trek movies? Is that what you're talking about?
how Star Trek, Star Wars, the fact that J.J. Abrams exists.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, I mean, uh, I mean,
I
honestly,
like Super 8.
okay, okay. Actually, let me put this to you, Jason.
Yes.
If it could be proven that J.J. Abrams saw aliens and that was his inspiration for both Star Trek and Star Wars, would you give up aliens if you could just wipe out J.J. Abrams' influence on Star Trek and Star Wars?
Wow. That's a very difficult question you're asking me. Um, no, I would not, and I'll tell you why. And this is getting dangerously close to me going deep into Star Wars because we don't have time for that. But let me just I'll try to say this as quickly as possible. I have let's see, the first J.J. Abrams Star Wars movie was 2015. So I have spent about 7 years of my life approximately talking about these movies and what I liked and disliked about them and such. And I can say that one of the things that a lot of fans that got really toxic and really horrible after these movies came out and stuff. I say this to people online, and I really mean it. I think one of the problems is that a lot of these people from any sort of fandom, it doesn't matter if it's Star Wars or something else, but I'm just specifically talking about Star Wars. I don't think that they grew up reading comics or reading, like in my case, the Star Wars expanded universe books and things like that, because they don't have experience loving a certain fandom, a certain franchise of things, and having to deal with the fact that when there's multiple creators of something, a lot of times over decades of time, you're going to have installments that are trash. And the best way to deal with that is to just love what you love and just have your own little headcanon, and just kind of realize that when somebody makes something that completely contradicts what the good movies that came before it and completely screws things up, you just have to kind of deal with it your own way and just kind of like let it go. Just got to have a real zen approach to things, because there's always going to be installments of stuff that's going to be garbage, especially with, like I just said earlier, if you're talking about decades and decades of comic books that have obviously have to have dozens of writers with their own takes on characters. You're just going to have stuff that's dumb every now and then. And with the Star Wars books, I mean, it was only 10 years or so of books that was kind of like what started the expanded universe stuff. But in those 10 years, there was like dozens and dozens of books that took place after uh, the the Star Wars trilogy, after Return of the Jedi. And they ranged from incredible to really, really unreadable. And you just have to kind of like go, well, I'm just going to not think about that one because that was garbage. And so a lot of these people, they get hung up on these things, and they kind of just go like, oh, you ruined everything for me. And it's like, well, you still have Star Wars, you still have the original trilogy. Matt, you still have
Mhm.
the even numbered Star Wars Star Trek movies. And you still have the old Star Trek. We just have to all agree that the new stuff was pretty bad.
I guess if nothing else, it feels like nowadays, if a reboot or a set of movies is not up to par, you don't have to worry, because within 5 years there's going to be another iteration of, with a different filmmaker, and hopefully that will be better. It's like Transformers.
The Batman.
Oh, the Batman. Well, the Batman. I mean, but the last Batman was good. Although, yeah, the Dark Knight Rises was a pretty bad movie. But
Well, you're forgetting about all of the Ben Affleck movies that came between.
oh, right. I didn't even count those. I'm just thinking about like a standalone Batman thing. But yes,
Gil, that's very understandable.
no, yeah, no. I mean, I didn't mind the Ben Affleck thing, but he was not
Oh,
a
he's
standalone
fine.
Batman. He was okay. He
It's
was
sad that we
just
didn't get a movie with him.
he was serviceable.
He was fine. It's
Yeah,
the movies that he was in that were
I, I,
bad.
I actually really liked Ben Affleck in that role. I thought that he wore the cowl very well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he actually played a very good Bruce Wayne and a very good Batman. I just think that the movies around him were just, quite frankly, shit. I mean, like, even the design of his costume was really good.
It's cool looking.
It's just really bad screenwriting.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
I
a
mean,
kind of a dumpster fire of a movie for sure.
I like the Snyder cut was enjoyable for me. And in the same way,
Yeah,
bringing back the aliens, I feel like it was just it was not aliens. It was way more than it. Like as far as like being very extravagant to too high of a degree almost, but in an operatic sort of way. But yes, it definitely doesn't hit all the right notes, which is why it's a very, very average movie at best, if not less than that. But yeah, um,
Yep.
Jar Jar Abrams.
Oh, you brought it back.
Yeah. I just really have a visceral hatred for that guy. But
Yeah, it sounds
yeah.
like it.
Oh, he's destroyed my entire childhood. Forgive me. I mean,
True.
I guess Matt feels about Abrams what or at least about Star Trek what Jason feels about Dune in some ways.
Oh
It's
no,
been
no. At least, yeah, Dune is like, how I feel about Dune is kind of like how Matt described the the Mel Gibson version of Hamlet. Only there's no excuse for it because they didn't cut it down in time. They had like 2.5 hours to tell the first half of a story that should take about 6 hours. So they shouldn't have needed to cut much of anything. And he had a template already in two other versions of the film that did it better. And so I feel like it's like when you're familiar with the book, it's like reading or it's like watching a Shakespeare adaptation where they've taken out all the great Shakespeare lines and they're just kind of telling the story without any of the good stuff in it. And
yeah
they did a beautiful job. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful movie. Um,
yeah.
but I mean, it's missing whole characters. But I don't know. Anyway, I can't. I shouldn't talk too much about Dune because I want to wait until the second one comes out. Maybe he has some really odd ideas about why he wanted to wait to introduce certain characters, and maybe it'll be much better than I expect, much better than I'm thinking. I just have my fingers crossed that they didn't just completely destroy the movie.
yeah no it's definitely going to be worth a discussion then.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but like you said, I think you're right. Like you just can't be too precious about these things because hopefully there'll be other iterations. Honestly, I've more so than Star Trek. I've been heartbroken by Transformers in some
Oh my
ways.
gosh.
Like
I
so,
know.
because I really loved that show growing up. That I was like,
Yeah.
I wish that like they could make a good iteration of that. And Bumblebee came close. So we'll see what happens.
The
Um,
cartoon movie was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, I don't think I liked it as much as the show itself. Something about the show was just like a
Well,
really good setup and
it's hard when they kill off a lot of your favorite characters right off the bat
that
in
too.
favor of new ones. So
Exactly. I think that's part of what the movie was just going a bit too far too soon or less familiar than what the show structure was. But it's all just it's fine. Like you're gonna you're not gonna like everything. Anything that lasts long enough, you're not gonna like all of it.
yeah.
You know.
This might actually be a future episode. Just where is it when you're actually not just making a misstep in your adaptation, but you're actually sucking the soul out of what it has always been.
Mm.
I think
Uh,
they touched on it though. Yeah, if you recall, like I remember the yeah, go ahead.
but okay, so like Jason just brought up, the Franco Zeffirelli Mel Gibson version of Hamlet, and like that's a perfect example of a movie where like how all occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge. What is a man of his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed a beast no more? Sure, he that met us with such, the whole Act 4 Scene 4 soliloquy, that's just gone. It's gone. That was never even brought up. And that's the entire life of the fucking play.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows to be or not to be, but that's actually kind of superfluous in terms of the plot and so on and so forth. The Act 4 Scene 4 soliloquy is actually when Hamlet grows up. It's when he actually decides to come back and fight, and for his people, and for everything that he stands for. And I mean, there are so many versions of Hamlet that just cut Fortinbras out entirely, and they just that is just sucking the entire spirit of the play out when you do that. So I mean, I think that you can abridge certain things strategically. I mean, like if you want to cut out a little bit of the Act 2, Scene 2 soliloquy, I'm not going to fault you for it. If you want to cut out a little bit of the Act 1, Scene 2 soliloquy, I'm not going to fault you about that. But to completely cut out the Act 4, Scene 4 soliloquy, if you're making a version of Hamlet, no, you're literally sucking the entire life out of what was actually intended to be shown to the audience.
Matt,
So
what you're saying is it'd be like basically like the Lion King, where Simba never sees his father up in the sky.
yeah,
He just
Yes,
decides to go back just for random reasons.
I mean that would
or a
be
different reason. Could be a different
uh,
reason.
Yeah.
that would be Act 1, Scene 1 of Hamlet. But yeah, uh,
No,
uh,
but I'm saying that
yeah,
point in the movie when his character grows up and decides to stop and decides to go back.
also, I'm wrong. That was Act 1, 3, Act 1, Scene 3.
Everyone
But
knew that. How could you not know that, Matt?
But the thing I was trying to say about like that I brought up
yeah,
before, actually, I recently listened to our past episode of fantasy and sci-fi and Star Trek snubbery. Oh my. Because I saw it got
yeah,
an extra listen. So it was like, oh, let me listen to it again just because somebody else listened to it. And I touch on that there, and we touch a little bit with the runtime episode too, is with adaptations. But I talked about like J.J. Abrams, like he took Star Trek and he took it from like what it was, which was, science fiction that was very heady, not very focused on action, more adventure, exploration, less action, and he just made it full blown action. Like he made it Mission
right.
Impossible in space,
Well, he
essentially.
raped it.
Yeah. So basically, and the argument that I made back then, and even George Lucas did with the prequels, it's like they shifted what the audience was. Abrams made it into an action movie because he wanted to drag the Star Trek fandom into the group of action movie fans, and Lucas with the prequels kind of made them more childish than even the originals were. So instead of like being targeted to like teens and young adults, the prequels almost were appealing to like preteens, or at least like the animated shows that came after, definitely more so.
Yeah,
So when you do, or in the Transformers example, what really bothered me about it is that the thing is fucking called Transformers, but they're not the heroes of this movie. Like it's Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox, and like it's all about the humans. Fuck the humans. It's called Transformers. It's about the robots. The show is about them crash landing into Earth and trying to survive. The humans are side characters, and it really bothered me that like no, can't have the robot be the lead character because like humans have to be center stage. Nobody wants to follow a robot through an entire movie and relate to it. No, yes, it's called Transformers. Do I need to say it again?
Yeah.
Like I just, yes, you need to have a human to relate it to some degree,
Yeah.
but they're supposed to have the most lines, the most screen time, and they didn't. Like it
And
just
it's true. I mean, we don't want to see.
yeah,
I don't know very many people that want to see a Superman movie where 80% of the movie is us following Jimmy Olsen around.
yeah, exactly. In a way,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. So it's
And that's also a something that I think that they got right with the Batman was making it like 90% Batman and maybe 10% Bruce Wayne. Yeah, I mean, just we go to a Batman movie to see Batman, so we
Which,
got a
by the
lot of
way,
Batman.
if you go to the Dark Knight, like it was a pure ensemble. The like Batman was actually like one of the least interesting characters there. Like
Yeah,
there's so many other characters that yeah. So, but that's okay. But it worked in that specific case. It was just a different kind of Batman
not,
movie.
not
But
not to give anything away for you. I'm going to avoid spoilers, but I recall one of your major criticisms of the Nolan Batman movies was Batman is supposed to be fucking insane, right? He's not supposed to be a playboy. He's not supposed to be all this stuff. He's supposed to be fucking insane. In the Batman, he's kind of fucking insane. Like,
I hope so. I mean, I can only hope
uh,
that it's closer to what I thought it should be. But like I said, when Nolan made his Batman movie, I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was his own iteration, and that was fine, and it worked really well. It was a very
yeah,
successful movie. But yeah, but I guess that's what the whole thing about these discussions is like they have their shot at making this kind of movie, whether it's J.J. Abrams or or the Michael Bay doing Transformers, and it's fine. I'm not gonna hold it against them. I'll just hope that the next iteration, the next filmmaker they choose, because they do try. They choose very talented up and coming filmmakers sometimes, like the Marvel, people do that as well. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's fine. That's why I don't watch all the movies that come out. I'll just watch the ones that are interesting to me. But
yeah.
yeah.